Michael Langston breathed control, lived for it, and with every passing second of that night he felt it slipping through his fingers like fine sand. At 42, he had built Langston Enterprises from the ground up, transforming it into a tech juggernaut, an empire built on sleek devices and cutting-edge software that defined the modern era. His perfectly tailored suits, sharp features, and piercing blue eyes exuded authority in boardrooms, where his impatience was as legendary as his overwhelming success. But tonight, the force that drove him seemed to abandon him, leaving him adrift in a sea of uncertainties and frustrations that not even all his power and fortune could dispel. A $2 billion merger with Synergy Solutions, a rival tech firm, was hanging by a thread. A 200-page contract crammed with legal terms so intricate that even his lawyers, graduates of the most prestigious Ivy League universities, seemed powerless before such a tangle of words. Deadlines loomed. Competitors circled like hungry vultures, ready to strike at the slightest sign of weakness, and Michael's temper, usually so controlled, simmered, threatening to explode at any moment. He desperately needed a break, a moment to breathe, an instant of clarity that would pull him out of that particular hell his office had become. His driver, sensing his boss's state, suggested a diner, a place that seemed stuck in time, just blocks from Michael's office. The place was called Rosie's, a simple, old-fashioned refuge with chipped formica tables and neon signs flickering intermittently in the window, a silent invitation to a world far from high technology and billions of dollars. Michael scoffed at the idea, finding it absurd and completely out of his standard of living, but exhaustion overcame him, and he eventually relented, a reluctant surrender to a suggestion that, under other circumstances, would have been unthinkable for someone of his caliber. He wasn't there to eat or to enjoy the atmosphere of the place. He simply needed somewhere to think, a refuge away from the sterile, oppressive hum of his immaculate office, where every sound seemed amplified by the tension. Inside Rosie's, the air was heavy with the smell of coffee and fried onions, a nostalgic scent that transported him to a simpler time, a stark contrast to the complexity of his life. The jukebox played a soft Motown tune, and the handful of patrons, truck drivers, night shift nurses, barely glanced at the man in his $5,000 suit, absorbed in their own worlds, oblivious to the storm raging within him. Michael slid into one of the booths, spreading the contract across the table, his pen slashing mercilessly at incomprehensible clauses, while frustration gnawed at him from the inside out. Indemnification protocols, fiduciary contingencies, escrow stipulations. The words blurred into a meaningless whirlwind, each legal term an insurmountable barrier to his already overwhelmed mind, leaving him even closer to despair. Grace Harper, a 28-year-old woman, watched him intently from behind the counter, her green eyes capturing every nuance of his frustration, a silent reading of his soul. For 3 years, she had dedicated her life to Rosie's, her nimble, experienced hands juggling plates and pouring coffee with an ease that bordered on art. Her auburn hair was pulled into a messy bun, a contrast to the quiet intensity of her eyes, which seemed to see far more than she let on, as if the world were an open book before her, and she an avid reader. Grace possessed an innate talent for deciphering people, a skill honed by years of observation and interaction with hundreds of strangers who passed through, each with their own story and their own pains. She could spot exhaustion, joy, and, in Michael's case, barely contained rage that pulsed beneath his facade of indifference. With a gentle movement, she approached his booth, the squeak of her sneakers on the linoleum breaking the tense silence. "Rough night?" she asked, her voice warm but not intrusive, as she placed a glass of water on the table, a small gesture of kindness amidst the chaos. Michael didn't look up, engrossed in his own anguish. "You could say that," he grumbled, without even facing her. She cast a brief glance at the papers, their margins scribbled with Michael's angry notes, a visible reflection of his agitation. "Looks like a lot to handle. Want to talk it out?" "Sometimes saying it out loud helps," Grace suggested, her voice still welcoming, but with a hint of persistence. He snorted, finally meeting her gaze, a mix of disbelief and arrogance in his eyes. "What? You're a lawyer now? Stick to pouring coffee, sweetheart." Michael said with a tone of contempt that would have made her retreat. However, Grace's smile didn't falter, but her eyes, previously so serene, sharpened, revealing an unexpected inner strength. "Just trying to help. You look like you're wrestling a bear," she replied, unfazed. "It's a contract," Michael snapped, his voice laden with impatience. "Unless you've got a law degree hiding under that apron, I don't think you'd get it." Grace tilted her head, completely unshakable, a silent challenge in her gaze. "Try me," she said with surprising calm. Translated into plain English, "If it's so hard, maybe a fresh pair of eyes can help." Michael's laugh was cold, cutting, sharp with the arrogance that always characterized him. "Oh, you're a genius now. Fine. If you're so smart, then translate it," he said, shoving the contract towards her, expecting her to flinch. But she didn't. Instead, Grace picked up the document, her fingers brushing the pages with surprising care, as if she were handling something precious and delicate. She sat across from him, and Michael watched her, a mixture of amusement and irritation bubbling within him. He expected her to stumble, to hand the contract back with an embarrassed shrug, admitting her incapacity. But Grace's brow furrowed in concentration, her lips moving slightly while she read, immersed in the complex text. She pulled a notepad from her apron and began jotting notes, her handwriting small and precise, each stroke revealing an organized and methodical mind. "Okay," she said after a few minutes, her voice steady and full of conviction, which made Michael lift his head, surprised by the authority in her tone. "This section here, indemnification protocols. It's about who takes the blame if things go south. Think of, like this. Say you're buying a car and it breaks down the next day. This clause decides if you're stuck with the repair bill or if the seller has to cover it. Your contract says Synergy Solutions wants you to eat most of the risk if their tech fails post-merger." Michael blinked, a flicker of something akin to recognition in his eyes. "That's actually not wrong," he grudgingly admitted, a hint of curiosity replacing his earlier disdain. "Go on." She flipped to another page, her movements precise and deliberate. "This escrow stipulation. It's like putting money in a piggy bank that neither of you can touch until certain conditions are met." A light began to dawn in Michael's mind, a realization that this waitress, this unassuming woman, was translating the legalese into something he could actually grasp, something his high-priced lawyers had failed to do. The intricate web of words and clauses that had baffled him for hours now seemed to untangle itself under Grace's calm explanation, revealing the true implications of each term. It was as if she possessed a unique key to unlock the hidden meanings, turning abstract legal jargon into concrete, understandable scenarios. He leaned forward, his initial skepticism slowly giving way to a burgeoning sense of intrigue, a feeling he hadn't experienced in years within the sterile confines of his business empire. They're asking for $500 million in escrow, which is steep. It's their safety net, but it ties up your cash. Low, you could negotiate that down or add a clause to release funds in phases. Michael leaned further forward, his skepticism visibly wavering, replaced by an expression of genuine astonishment. "How do you know this?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper, a stark contrast to his usual booming tone. Grace shrugged, her smile almost mischievous, a hint of playful defiance in her eyes. "I listen. I read. People underestimate waitresses, but we hear everything. Business deals, breakups, you name." Then she paused, a glint in her eye. "Plus, I've got a thing for puzzles." He wasn't entirely convinced, not yet, but the sheer clarity of her explanations, the way she cut through the legal jargon with such precision, forced him to listen. He let her continue, his own mind racing to keep up with her insights, a battle between his ingrained prejudices and the undeniable evidence of her intellect. Over the next hour, Grace systematically dismantled the contract's complexity with startling clarity. She didn't just simplify the terms. She connected the dots, identifying risks his entire legal team had somehow missed, like a crucial clause that could allow Synergy to back out without penalty if Langston's stock dipped below a certain threshold. Her suggestions for counter-clauses were brilliant, grounded in analogies that made the abstract tangible, transforming arcane legal concepts into relatable, everyday scenarios. It's like signing a lease for an apartment, but leaving a loophole for the landlord to kick you out without notice, she explained, and suddenly the gravity of the potential risk became terrifyingly clear to him. Michael's arrogance began to crack, crumbling under the weight of her undeniable brilliance. This wasn't just a waitress with a knack for words. There was something deeper at play, something profound and unexpected. It was logic, sharp as a blade, combined with an intuition that cut through the noise of corporate jargon like a hot knife. Through butter, a mind that saw beyond the surface, grasping the underlying structure and potential pitfalls of complex agreements. "Who are you?" he asked, half to himself, the question escaping his lips almost involuntarily. A genuine expression of awe and bewilderment. Grace hesitated for a moment, her gaze steady, then carefully set the contract down, her fingers resting lightly on the pages. "Just someone who's good at figuring things out," she replied, her voice soft but firm, a quiet dignity in her posture. "You done mocking me yet?" He didn't answer immediately, his silence a profound admission of his error, a testament to how completely she had disarmed his preconceived notions. The diner slowly emptied as midnight approached, leaving only Michael, Grace, and the gentle hum of the jukebox, its soft melodies filling the quiet space with an almost ethereal calm. He pushed the contract aside, his focus now entirely on her, his earlier frustration replaced by an overwhelming wave of curiosity that demanded answers. "You're not just a waitress, are you?" he probed, the question hanging in the air, weighted with newfound respect. Grace wiped the counter with deliberate, unhurried movements, her actions speaking of a quiet resilience. "I'm a lot of things," she said, her voice thoughtful. "Waitress, sister, daughter. I was a computer science major for a while, but life had other plans." Michael's eyebrows shot up, a genuine shock registering on his face. "A computer science major? Why'd you quit?" Her response was matter-of-fact, but there was a palpable weight behind her words, a subtle hint of the burdens she carried. "Didn't quit. Had to pause. My mom got sick and my brother was struggling. Someone had to pay the bills." Her voice was devoid of self-pity, yet the underlying sacrifice was undeniable. "I've been teaching myself ever since then. Coding mostly. Keeps my brain busy." Michael leaned back, reassessing her completely, seeing her not as a waitress but as a person of immense intellect and unwavering determination. "Coding? Like what?" he pressed, his interest now fully piqued. She hesitated again, a flicker of vulnerability in her eyes before pulling out her phone. "I've been working on something. An app." Grace laughed softly, a melancholic sound. "Who's going to take a waitress seriously? I don't have a degree or a fancy resume, just code I write at 2 a.m. after my shifts." Michael's mind raced, a whirlwind of thoughts and, possibilities. Langston Enterprises was bleeding market share to competitors with superior communication technology. Grace's app, he realized with a jolt, could be a game changer, a disruptive force that could redefine their position in the market. But more than the app itself, it was her unparalleled ability to think, to cut through complexity, to innovate under immense pressure, qualities that his polished executives, for all their degrees and experience, conspicuously lacked. He had built his empire on spotting talent, on recognizing brilliance where others saw only mediocrity. But he had almost missed it this time, blinded by his own ingrained biases and the superficial trappings of success. "You're wrong," he said finally, his voice low and firm, filled with a newfound conviction. "Someone would take you seriously, I would." Grace raised an eyebrow, a skeptical glint in her eyes, still wary of his sudden change of heart. "You, the guy who called me sweetheart and told me to tick to coffee?" He winced, a rare display of genuine remorse. "Fair point, I was an ass, but I'm not stupid. You've got something special, Grace. Let me help you build it. Resources, funding, a team, you name it." She studied him, her expression unreadable, a complex mix of suspicion and intrigue. "Why should I trust you? You don't even know me." "Because I know talent when I see it," he said, his voice earnest for the first time, stripped of its usual arrogance. "And because you just saved my deal, let me return the favor." Over the next week, Michael couldn't shake the encounter. He finalized the synergy deal, armed with Grace's insights, negotiating better terms that ultimately saved his company millions. But his thoughts kept drifting back to her app, her mind, her compelling story. He found himself reevaluating everything he thought he knew about success, about talent, about the very people who built his world. The sterile efficiency of his corporate offices suddenly felt hollow, lacking the vibrant, raw ingenuity he had witnessed in a humble diner. The weight of his past dismissiveness pressed down on him, a heavy burden of regret for almost letting his prejudices blind him to such a remarkable individual. The image of Grace calmly dissecting the complex legal document, her quiet brilliance shining through her unassuming exterior, replayed in his mind. He recognized a profound mistake, a failure not just in judgment, but in his fundamental understanding of where true innovation could be found. This wasn't merely about a business deal. It was about a profound shift in his perspective, a forced awakening to the limitations of his own worldview. The arrogance that had been his armor for so long now felt like a suffocating cage, trapping him within a narrow definition of success. He understood, with a clarity that stung, that he had almost lost out on a revolutionary idea, not because it wasn't good enough, but because he was too arrogant to see past the facade of a working-class woman. This realization sparked something deep within him, a desire not just to fix his mistake, but to fundamentally change how he operated, how Langston Enterprises identified and nurtured talent. The memory of her quiet strength, her resilience in the face of adversity, resonated deeply within him, sparking a profound introspection that he never thought himself capable of. He knew, with absolute certainty, that he had to go back, not just to offer a partnership, but to make amends, to genuinely acknowledge the genius he had so carelessly dismissed. He returned to Rosie's, this time not with a contract to be deciphered, but with a proposal, a partnership to develop her app under Langston's umbrella, with Grace as the lead developer. He sat at the same booth, the scent of coffee and fried onions a nostalgic comfort, waiting for her, a knot of anticipation in his stomach. When she approached, her eyes held a mixture of caution and curiosity. Michael, usually so poised and confident, found himself fumbling for words, explaining his vision not as a cold business proposition, but as a genuine opportunity to bring her genius to the world. Grace was wary, her experiences teaching her to be cautious of promises that glittered too brightly, but she was undeniably intrigued by the sincerity in his voice, a stark contrast to his earlier condescension. She agreed, but on her terms, a testament to her unwavering self-respect and her understanding of her own worth. She would keep her job at Rosie's until the app officially launched, a practical anchor to her reality, and crucially, she wanted a significant say in how it was built, ensuring her vision remained uncompromised. Michael, unaccustomed to being challenged, to having his authority questioned, found himself respecting her more for it, a newfound admiration for her unwavering conviction. This wasn't just a negotiation, it was a pact, a mutual acknowledgement of talent, and a burgeoning respect that transcended their initial prejudiced encounter. As they worked together, a transformation began to unfold within Michael. He started to see the world through Grace's eyes, a world of late-night coding sessions fueled by passion and necessity, of scraping by, of dreams deferred but never abandoned. He witnessed her resilience, her unwavering dedication to her craft, despite the immense personal challenges she faced. She introduced him to her family, her mother, recovering but still frail, her brother, a teenager grappling with big dreams and even bigger doubts. Through them, Michael, who had long viewed success as a solitary climb, began to see the immense strength in community, in the unwavering support of loved ones, and in the raw resilience born of necessity. He saw the quiet sacrifices, the unspoken burdens, the unwavering hope that fueled Grace's every step. It wasn't just about an app anymore. It was about understanding the human spirit, the hidden struggles, and the incredible triumphs that often go unnoticed in the fast-paced world he inhabited. The stark contrast between his privileged upbringing and Grace's arduous journey opened his eyes to a reality far richer and more complex than he had ever imagined. He learned the value of empathy, of looking beyond superficial appearances, and of recognizing the profound impact that genuine connection and understanding can have. This collaboration was not merely a business venture. It was a profound personal journey for Michael, reshaping his values and redefining his perception of what truly mattered in life. The app, aptly named ConnectSphere, launched 6 months later to critical acclaim, a testament to Grace's vision and Michael's newfound commitment. It wasn't just a product, it was a lifeline, making communication faster and safer for businesses and individuals alike, bridging gaps that existing technologies had failed to address. Grace became a rising star in the tech world, her story inspiring countless others who had been overlooked, a beacon of hope for those who dared to dream beyond their circumstances. Her triumph was a powerful validation of the idea that brilliance doesn't need a pedigree, only a chance. She established a scholarship fund specifically for working-class students, ensuring that others like her, burdened by financial constraints, could finish what she had started, breaking down the systemic barriers that often hinder aspiring talents. This was not just a charitable act. It was an embodiment of her own struggle, a tangible commitment to creating opportunities where none existed before, a way to pay forward the unexpected chance she had received. Her success became a ripple effect, empowering a new generation to pursue their ambitions regardless of their background. Michael, too, underwent a profound transformation. He overhauled Langston's hiring practices, actively seeking talent in unexpected places, community colleges, small towns, even diners. He never forgot the invaluable lesson Grace had taught him. Brilliance doesn't need a pedigree, it just needs a chance. Years later, Michael found himself sitting in Rosie's again, this time not as a desperate businessman but as a regular, a cherished patron. Grace was there too, not as a waitress, but as a guest, celebrating ConnectSphere's latest update, her presence a silent reminder of their shared journey. The diner was packed, the jukebox playing a lively tune, and the air buzzed with a palpable sense of possibility, a vibrant energy that filled the space. Michael raised a coffee mug and a toast, a wide, genuine smile gracing his lips. "To underestimating people," he said, his voice filled with a quiet humility. Grace clinked her mug against his, her eyes sparkling with humor and triumph. "To proving them wrong," she replied, her voice echoing the sentiment. As they laughed, the city outside hummed on, unaware of the quiet revolution that had been sparked. In a humble diner booth. It wasn't just about an app or a deal. It was about seeing people, truly seeing them, and realizing that the world was bigger and brighter than any boardroom could ever contain. The story of Grace resonated far beyond tech circles, becoming an inspiring tale of resilience and proof that talent knows no social or economic barriers, challenging the corporate mindset Michael had personified for so long. Every new ConnectSphere update was a reminder of the latent potential in every individual, often hidden beneath layers of prejudice and limiting expectations. The platform wasn't just a communication tool, it was a symbol of human connection, a bridge between different worlds, a reflection of Grace's own journey, which had transformed a humble place like Rosie's into a launching pad for something extraordinary. That diner, once just a stop for Michael, became a sanctuary of inspiration, a constant reminder that the greatest innovations and deepest lessons often emerge from the most unexpected places, far from the spotlights and centers of power. It was a living testament that true intelligence is not measured by diplomas or fortunes, but by the ability to see beyond the obvious, to solve problems in innovative ways, and to inspire change. Michael, in turn, became a fervent advocate for diversity and inclusion, using his influence to open doors and challenge the old guards of the tech industry. He became a mentor to young talents from disadvantaged backgrounds, investing not only in their projects but in their lives, offering them the opportunities he himself had almost denied Grace. His foundation, created in partnership with Grace, became a beacon for those seeking a chance, promoting acceleration programs and scholarships for brilliant minds who otherwise would never be noticed by the traditional system. He learned that true legacy was not in billions of dollars or corporate empires, but in the ability to catalyze change, empower, others, and create a future where genuine merit outweighed any prejudice. With each success story of a new talent discovered through Michael's initiatives, he saw a piece of Grace's journey, an echo of that night at Rosie's, which had redefined not only his career, but his very humanity. He finally understood that the greatest wealth was not in material possessions, but in the ability to transform lives, inspire hope, and build a fairer, more equitable world. That small diner, once a forgotten refuge in the bustling urban landscape, flourished, transforming into a local landmark, a pilgrimage site for those inspired by Grace's story. Customers came from everywhere, not just for the comforting food or strong coffee, but for the aura of possibility that permeated the place. Rosie's became a symbol that the boldest dreams can materialize in the most improbable settings, a silent testament to the revolution that had begun at one of its Formica tables. The walls, once plain and utilitarian, now seemed to glow with the stories of triumph that unfolded there. Every laugh and every whispered conversation, adding a new layer to its rich tapestry of legends. The diner's atmosphere became a microcosm of the change Michael and Grace had instigated in the tech world, a constant reminder that a person's true worth does not reside in their attire or status, but in the depth of their character and the strength of their mind. Grace, despite her fame and fortune, never forgot her. She continued visiting Rosie's, not as the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar tech company, but as the same Grace Harper who once served coffee and listened to strangers' stories. Her humility became one of her most striking characteristics, a refreshing counterpoint to the arrogance that often defined the tech world. She used her platform to advocate for social causes, promoting education for all, and fighting against inequality of opportunity. Her voice, once muffled by circumstances, now echoed throughout the world, inspiring millions to pursue their own dreams, regardless of the obstacles. In every speech, every interview, she shared the story of how a tech magnate had underestimated her, and how that initial humiliation transformed into a powerful driving force for her ascent. She was living proof that resilience, combined with passion and intelligence, could move mountains, redefining what was possible for a woman of humble origin on the global stage. Michael, alongside Grace, became an example that even the most powerful can learn and evolve, dismantling the barriers of prejudice he himself had helped build. His transformation from an arrogant CEO to an advocate for inclusion was not just a public relations strategy. It was a genuine change of heart, driven by the lesson Grace provided him on that crucial night. He became a sought-after speaker, sharing his journey of self-discovery, confessing his past mistakes, and encouraging other leaders to look beyond credentials and recognize the intrinsic value of each individual. The story of Michael and Grace became a case study in business schools, proof that collaboration, when based on mutual respect and the appreciation of talent, can yield results beyond any expectation. That merger contract, which once seemed to be the biggest challenge of his career, transformed into the catalyst for a personal and professional change he never would have imagined. The merger with Synergy Solutions, driven by Grace's insightful analyses, was a resounding success, but Michael's true legacy was not in the astronomical profits that followed. It was in the silent revolution he and Grace initiated, a revolution that redefined what it meant to be a leader in the 21st century. They didn't just create a cutting-edge tech company. They built a community, an ecosystem where talent was the only criterion for success, and where a person's background didn't matter. Rosie's, the diner, became the symbolic meeting point for the brightest minds that Langston Enterprises now attracted, a place where executives and young programmers from diverse backgrounds could meet, discuss ideas, and inspire each other, all under the watchful and inspiring gaze of the jukebox playing old tunes. The smell of coffee and fried onions mingled with the aroma of success, and each table told a story of overcome challenges, shattered prejudices, and a future built on the foundations of equality and opportunity. Grace's influence extended beyond the tech universe, reaching social and political spheres, where she became a powerful voice in the fight for justice and equity. She advocated for the creation of mentorship programs for youth from marginalized communities, ensuring that talent was not wasted due to lack of opportunity or access to resources. Her story inspired not only individuals, but governments and organizations to rethink their approaches to talent development, recognizing that the most disruptive innovation often resides in minds that have been systematically ignored. She became a beacon of hope, proving that it is possible to break the cycle of poverty and prejudice with intelligence, resilience, and, above all, the courage to challenge the status quo. Her life became a living testament that a single conversation, a single act of kindness, can catalyze a wave of change that transcends the boundaries of time and space. Michael, in his later years at the helm of Langston Enterprises, dedicated himself to transforming the company into a model of corporate social responsibility, leading initiatives aimed at digital inclusion in underprivileged communities. He invested heavily in tech education for all, creating computer labs in public schools and free training programs, ensuring that access to technology and digital skills was not a privilege, but a right. His vision was of a future where Langston Enterprises was not just a tech company, but a force for good, using its influence and resources to build a fairer and more equitable society. He retired as CEO, but his partnership with Grace continued, evolving into a deep and lasting friendship, based on mutual respect and a shared vision for a better world. They continued to meet at Rosie's, not to discuss business but to celebrate small victories, the lives that were impacted and the barriers that were broken, toasting to a future they helped build. The legacy of Michael and Grace transcended the business world. They became a symbol of how differences can be overcome, how humility can teach valuable lessons to the powerful, and how collaboration between diverse minds can lead to innovations that transform the world. The book recounting their story, titled A Waitress and the Billionaire, became an international bestseller, inspiring millions of people to dream bigger and never underestimate the hidden potential in themselves and others. Rosie's, the humble diner where it all began, became an iconic spot, a meeting point for entrepreneurs, students, and dreamers from all walks of life, all seeking a piece of that magic that had blossomed between the fried onions and fresh coffee. Their story wasn't just about financial success. It was about redefining values, breaking paradigms, and building a legacy that went far beyond profits, a legacy of human and social impact. They continued to work together on various philanthropic projects, directing their efforts to create a more inclusive and just society. The Grace and Michael Foundation became one of the most influential in the world, funding research in ethical artificial intelligence, promoting education for refugees, and investing in green technologies that sought solutions to climate crises. With each new challenge, they remembered that night at Rosie's, how an unlikely encounter in a simple diner transformed their lives and, by extension, the world. Their legacy was not just ConnectSphere, but the living proof that true innovation and most significant change come from the intersection of different perspectives, from the humility to learn, and from the courage to challenge the status quo. The glow of the Rosie's jukebox light, which once illuminated the table of a frustrated CEO and an underestimated waitress, now symbolized a new era, where talent was not judged by appearance, but by the ability to dream, to create, and to inspire. The narrative of Michael and Grace became an acclaimed film, capturing the essence of their journey and moving audiences worldwide. The film not only retold the events but delved deeper into Michael's internal struggles against his own prejudice and Grace's unwavering strength, who persisted despite adversity. The soundtrack, composed by emerging artists, became an anthem of triumph, with songs celebrating barrier breaking and the discovery of hidden talents. The actors' performances, embodying Michael and Grace with remarkable authenticity, brought the story to life in a way that transcended the screen, inspiring conversations about inclusion, empathy, and the power of second chances. The film's success generated a wave of interest in stories of ordinary people who achieved the extraordinary, proving that the most powerful narratives are those that resonate with the universal human experience of struggle and triumph. ConnectSphere sales continued to grow exponentially, becoming the gold standard in corporate and personal communication. But Grace never allowed success to sway her from the principles that had guided her. She implemented policies at Langston Enterprises that promoted employee flexibility and well-being, recognizing the importance of a healthy work-life balance, something she herself had sacrificed for so many years. The company's culture, shaped by her influence, became a model for other organizations, prioritizing innovation, collaboration, and above all, mutual respect. Grace, with her inspiring leadership and unwavering humanity, proved that it is possible to build a tech empire without losing one's soul, and that true success lies not only in numbers and profits, but in the ability to create an environment where everyone can thrive and reach their full potential. She became the embodiment of a new era of leadership, one where empathy and integrity were as valued as genius and strategic vision. Rosie's, which witnessed Michael and Grace's first interaction, remained a focal point in their lives, a sanctuary of memories, and a constant reminder of their humble origins. They maintained the tradition of meeting there regularly, enjoying the coffee and relaxed atmosphere, reminiscent of the days when the fate of a billion-dollar merger hung in the balance on a Formica table. These informal meetings became legendary within the company, a symbol of their leader's accessibility, and a reminder that no matter how high one climbs, it is essential to stay grounded and never forget where you came from. The diner's simplicity contrasted vividly with the complexity of their lives and careers, serving as an anchor for their souls, a place where they could just be Michael and Grace, away from the titles and expectations of the corporate world. It was a silent testament that true greatness lies in the ability to remain authentic, even in the face of immense success. Michael, in his later years, spent much of his time traveling the world, speaking at conferences and universities, sharing the story of his transformation and the importance of challenging one's own prejudices. He became a prominent voice in advocating for education and digital inclusion, using his vast fortune to fund programs aimed at democratizing access to technology in underprivileged regions. His passion for uncovering hidden talents led him to establish a global network of brilliance incubators, places where promising minds from all walks of life received the support and resources needed to turn their ideas into reality. The figure of the billionaire who learned from a waitress became an icon, a living example that personal growth and evolution are continuous processes, regardless of age or social status. He proved that the deepest wisdom does not always come from books or classrooms, but from unexpected encounters and the humility to recognize genius in all its forms. Grace, in turn, continued to lead Langston Enterprises with a vision that transcended profit, focusing on social impact and sustainability. She implemented a series of green initiatives, transforming the company into a model of environmental responsibility, using her platform to advocate for renewable energy and the reduction of the carbon footprint in the tech industry. Under her leadership, ConnectSphere not only expanded globally, but also integrated accessibility features for people with disabilities, ensuring that communication became truly universal and inclusive. Her rise from waitress to global CEO was an inspiration to millions, but her greatest legacy was proving that compassionate, value-driven leadership can coexist with tremendous business success, redefining what it means to be a leading company in the 21st century. She demonstrated that the most significant innovation is not just about technology, but about how technology can be used to uplift the human condition and create a more equitable world. The impact of Michael and Grace's story resonated across generations. Children who grew up reading the book or watching the film were inspired to follow their dreams, regardless of their backgrounds, and to challenge preconceived notions about success and talent. The narrative became part of school curricula in various parts of the world, teaching lessons of resilience, empathy, and the importance of looking beyond appearances. Rosie's, the small diner, became a mandatory tourist spot, with visitors taking photos and leaving notes of gratitude and inspiration, transforming the place into a sanctuary of hope and a monument to the power of unexpected human connections. The old jukebox continued to play its soft melodies, a constant reminder that life, like music, is made of notes that come together in surprising ways, creating harmonies that resonate far beyond what we can imagine, changing the course of destiny in ways we never could have predicted. The Grace and Michael Foundation, now a global powerhouse in philanthropy, continued to fund ambitious projects that addressed humanity's greatest challenges, from poverty eradication to promoting peace and international cooperation. They believed that just as a complex contract could be simplified and understood, the world's most intricate problems could also be solved with intelligence, compassion, and collaboration. With each successful project, they reinforced the idea that true value is not in what one accumulates, but in what one gives, in the positive impact one can generate in the lives of others. The partnership between the billionaire and the former waitress became a beacon of hope, living proof that personal transformation can lead to global transformation, inspiring a new generation of leaders who valued ethics and social responsibility above all else, creating a future where prosperity was measured not only by financial gains, but by collective well-being. The legacy of ConnectSphere, the company Grace and Michael built together, was not just limited to the development of advanced technologies. Under Grace's visionary leadership, the company became a research hub for ethical artificial intelligence, ensuring that technology was developed in a way that benefited humanity, protected privacy, and promoted equity. They invested in education programs for children in conflict zones, using technology to bring knowledge and hope to places where education was a luxury. Langston Enterprises, rebranded as Langston and Harper Innovations, became synonymous with innovation with purpose, a company that not only created products but built a fairer and more connected future. Their story, which began with a simple coffee in a humble diner, evolved into an epic saga of triumph, collaboration, and an unwavering commitment to building a better world, leaving an indelible mark on the history of technology and philanthropy. Awards and recognitions poured in for Grace and Michael. They were honored by prestigious institutions worldwide, from universities to human rights organizations, for their pioneering work and transformative impact. However, the prize they valued most was the smile on the faces of the people they helped, the success stories of students who received scholarships from the foundation, and the flourishing of communities that benefited from their initiatives. For them, the true legacy was not in trophies or titles, but in the ability to touch lives, to inspire change, and to build a future where every individual had the chance to realize their full potential, regardless of where they came from or their initial circumstances. The world's clamor for more stories like theirs was proof of the human longing for hope, for a reminder that good can triumph over prejudice, and that kindness, intelligence, and perseverance are the true currencies in an increasingly complex world. Rosie's, ever present, became an informal museum of their story, preserving the table where the contract was translated, and Grace's original notes. Tourists and curious visitors came from afar to experience the atmosphere of the place that had witnessed the beginning of one of history's most unlikely and successful partnerships. The diner's staff, now part of a legendary story, proudly recounted the details of Michael and Grace's meeting, perpetuating the legacy and the message that genius can hide anywhere, just waiting for a chance to shine. The jukebox, with its timeless melodies, echoed the spirit of that silent revolution, reminding everyone that life is a symphony of unexpected encounters, overcome challenges and opportunities that arise when least expected, if only we have the courage to see beyond appearances and embrace the unlimited potential of every human being. The partnership between Grace and Michael became a beacon for the tech sector, demonstrating that the most disruptive innovation comes not only from large research laboratories, but from diverse minds and varied life experiences. They set a new standard for talent recruitment, prioritizing aptitude and potential over traditional credentials, opening the industry's doors to individuals who were once marginalized. Langston and Harper Innovations' business model, with its emphasis on social responsibility and inclusion, was emulated by other companies, triggering a cultural shift throughout the tech industry, which began to value diversity and equity more. Their story was a constant reminder that true progress is not measured solely by technological advancements, but by the ability to use technology to create a fairer and more accessible world for all, breaking down the barriers of prejudice and inequality, one innovation at a time. Grace and Michael became more than just business partners. They became a chosen family, united by a shared vision and profound mutual respect. Their relationship evolved into a friendship that transcended blood ties, built on the foundation of overcome challenges, shattered prejudices, and an unwavering commitment to building a better future. They celebrated successes together, consoled each other in rare failures, and continued to inspire each other to push beyond their own limits. This unlikely union became the pulsating heart of their philanthropic mission, fueling their efforts to create a world where opportunity was universal and talent the only currency. They proved that, in the end, the greatest legacy is not wealth or power, but the human connections one builds, the values one upholds, and the difference one makes in people's lives. One day, one conversation, one smile at a time, always remembering the humble diner where it all began. The global impact of Grace and Michael was immense, but they never lost connection with small communities, with the individual stories that served as their inspiration. Grace, in particular, kept a diary of every person she had helped, a personal record of transformed lives that kept her humble and focused on her mission. Michael, in turn, dedicated significant time to visiting the brilliance incubators they had created, meeting young talents, sharing his experiences and listening to their aspirations, becoming a mentor and a father figure to many of them. Their story, in essence, was a testament to the power of human contact, the ability of a casual encounter in a diner to trigger a revolution that would resonate across the planet, proving that the greatest changes do not always begin with grand plans or vast resources, but with the simple openness to recognize the potential in every human being. The media continued to document every step of Grace and Michael, with documentaries, podcasts, and articles exploring the nuances of their partnership and the impact of their initiatives. They became beloved public figures, with fans on every continent who were inspired by their journey of triumph and their commitment to social justice. With each new publication, the story of the billionaire and the waitress was retold, gaining new layers of meaning and inspiring a new generation to challenge conventions and seek greatness in themselves and others. Rosie's, with its jukebox and its coffee smell, continued to be the nostalgic backdrop of this saga, a tangible reminder that the seeds of change can be planted in the humblest places, and that true power lies in the ability to see beyond the superficial and to invest in human potential, no matter where it comes from. Langston and Harper Innovations, under the joint leadership of Michael and Grace, became the most innovative and ethical company in the world, not only for its technological advancements, but for its organizational culture that prioritized employee well-being, diversity, and inclusion. They created talent development programs that were envied by other companies, offering training, mentorship, and growth opportunities for everyone, regardless of their academic or social background. The company became a model for how capitalism could be used as a force for good, generating profits while promoting equity and social responsibility. This transformative vision of Michael and Grace solidified their legacy, proving that business success did not have to be synonymous with exploitation or inequality, but could be a driver for positive change, building bridges between different realities and raising the standard of living for millions. The commitment of Grace and Michael to sustainability and environmental responsibility was groundbreaking in the tech industry. They invested in research and development of clean technologies, reducing the environmental impact of their products and operations, and encouraging other companies to follow suit. Langston and Harper Innovations became a leader in the transition to a green economy, demonstrating that innovation and economic growth could go hand in hand with protecting the planet. This commitment to the future, not only of technology but of humanity itself, cemented Grace and Michael's legacy as visionaries who not only revolutionized an industry but inspired a new generation to rethink the relationship between progress, ethics, and the well-being of the planet, proving that corporate responsibility is as vital as technological innovation. The story of Grace and Michael inspired countless universities and educational institutions to reformulate their curricula, incorporating the importance of emotional intelligence, empathy, and the ability to see beyond academic credentials. They became honorary speakers at several renowned universities, sharing their experiences and challenging students to think disruptively, to question the status quo, and to seek solutions for the world's most complex problems, regardless of their field of study. Their presence in elite academies served as a reminder that practical knowledge and life experience are as valuable as theory, and that true learning occurs when the mind is open to all sources of wisdom, including the most unexpected ones, such as a diner in a simple neighborhood where a waitress and a billionaire met and changed the course of their lives. Rosie's, which had become an almost mythical place, continued to be Michael and Grace's meeting point, a personal sanctuary where they could relax and reflect on the journey they had taken. They appreciated the simplicity of the place, the authenticity of the customers, and the honesty of the conversations that happened there, a welcome contrast to the formality of the corporate world. These meetings at Rosie's became an annual ritual, a moment to renew the bonds of friendship and to reaffirm their commitment to the values that had driven their transformation. It was a constant reminder that, no matter how high one climbs in life, it is essential to maintain a connection with one's roots, with the people who shaped who we are, and with the places that witnessed the first steps of an extraordinary journey. The influence of Grace and Michael became global, with their stories being translated into dozens of languages and distributed across all continents, inspiring an entire generation to believe in the power of triumph and collaboration. They became ambassadors of a new way of thinking about success, which was not measured solely by material wealth, but by the positive impact one could generate in the world. Their lectures, workshops, and motivational books became references for entrepreneurs, leaders, and dreamers from all walks of life, offering a practical guide to transforming challenges into opportunities and building a legacy that would transcend time. Their message was clear: greatness is not a privilege of a few, but a potential that resides in every human being, just waiting for a chance to be discovered and nurtured, regardless of their social or economic background. The Grace and Michael Foundation, now headquartered in several cities around the world, expanded its areas of operation, funding projects in global health, art and culture, and promoting education for children in conflict zones. They believe that technology, when used with purpose and compassion, could be a powerful force for good, breaking down barriers and creating a more connected and equitable world. Their passion for leaving a lasting legacy drove them to continue investing in causes that resonated with their own values, ensuring that the seed of hope planted at Rosie's continued to flourish, transforming lives and inspiring a new era of leaders who prioritized humanity above all else. Their story, which began with an act of prejudice and transformed into a successful partnership, became a perennial reminder that change is possible, that hope is a powerful force, and that true impact lies in seeing the potential in every soul and in giving everyone a chance to shine. Rosie's, once a commonplace, had transformed into a meeting point for brilliant minds, a space where the community could gather and celebrate the power of collaboration. It became an informal laboratory of ideas, where young entrepreneurs sought inspiration and advice from Michael and Grace, who often made surprise appearances to connect with the new generation of innovators. The tables where Michael and Grace had first conversed were preserved, almost like sacred relics, a silent testament that the greatest revolutions can have humble beginnings. The jukebox, with its timeless musical selection, was the background rhythm for these new interactions, a constant reminder that history is built every moment and that every conversation, every exchange of ideas, has the potential to change the world. Langston and Harper Innovations, under Grace's leadership, continued to expand its product portfolio, always with a focus on inclusion and accessibility. They developed assistive technologies for people with disabilities, remote education platforms for underprivileged communities, and communication tools that connected people worldwide, regardless of their location or language. The company became a beacon of innovation, with purpose, demonstrating that financial success and social impact could go hand in hand, redefining the business model for future generations. The legacy of Grace and Michael became an example of how passion, resilience, and vision can transform not only individual lives but entire sectors of the economy, building a fairer, more connected, and promising future for all, one technology and one social initiative at a time, always with Rosie's as the starting point of everything. The story of Grace and Michael became a global cultural phenomenon, permeating literature, art, and even academic curricula, solidifying itself as a modern classic of triumph and reinvention. Renowned universities invited Grace to lecture on transformative leadership and ethics in technology, while Michael was sought after to share his experiences on challenging prejudices and fostering inclusive innovation. Classrooms, once dominated by case studies of traditional companies, now analyzed Langston and Harper. Innovations as an example of how empathy and social responsibility can be at the core of a successful business model. Rosie's, the diner, became a pop culture icon, a place where imagination was encouraged and dreams were nurtured, inspiring thousands to seek genius in unexpected places and to believe that every encounter has the potential to be the beginning of a new and extraordinary journey. The impact of Grace and Michael's partnership transcended technological innovation, extending to the very definition of success. They dismantled the idea that success was measured solely by power and wealth, proving that true triumph lies in the ability to make a difference in people's lives, to build communities, and to create a legacy that would endure long beyond their own existences. Their lives became living proof that resilience, humility, and the ability to learn from one's mistakes are the true foundations for a meaningful life. The smell of coffee and fried onions at Rosie's, which once filled the air during a moment of despair and prejudice, now was an aroma of hope, a constant reminder that life's most impactful twists often begin in the simplest and most unexpected places, and that the power of human connection can transform the world in unimaginable ways. The Grace and Michael Foundation continued to expand its reach, funding projects that addressed global humanitarian crises, promoting peace and intercultural understanding, and investing in technological solutions for the planet's most pressing challenges. They demonstrated that modern philanthropy was not just about financial donations, but about the strategic use of intelligence, networks, and vision to generate systemic and lasting impact. Their story, which began with a contract and a glass of water, evolved into an epic of social innovation, proving that the greatest return on investment is not financial, but building a fairer, more compassionate and equitable world. Rosie's, with its jukebox and formica tables, remained a silent testament that the deepest change often springs from the most unexpected encounters, and that human resilience, combined with the ability to see beyond the obvious, can truly transform the world. Langston and Harper Innovations, under Grace's visionary leadership, continued to break paradigms in the tech industry, not only for its revolutionary products, but for its unwavering dedication to ethics and data privacy, a striking contrast to many other industry giants. The company became a model for how corporations can financially prosper while maintaining an unwavering commitment to social well-being, proving that profit and purpose are not mutually exclusive, but can be complementary forces that drive progress. The organizational culture Grace cultivated was based on trust, collaboration, and valuing individual creativity, ensuring that every employee felt part of something greater than just a company. Their story was a constant reminder that true success is built on integrity, empathy, and the ability to inspire a team to achieve the extraordinary, always with a vision for a future where technology served humanity responsibly and ethically. Michael, in his active retirement, became a global ambassador for the economy of opportunity, a philosophy that advocated for the creation of ecosystems where talent, regardless of its origin, could flourish and develop. He invested in grassroots startups, in entrepreneurs from disadvantaged communities, and in projects that promoted digital literacy in remote regions, ensuring that the technological revolution was inclusive and accessible to all. His journey, from an arrogant magnate to a dedicated philanthropist, resonated with millions, proving that personal change is a continuous process and that the greatest achievement is not what one accumulates, but the impact one has on the lives of others. Rosie's, ever present, continued to be the starting point of this transformation, a tangible reminder that life's deepest lessons are often learned in the simplest places, and that greatness can be found in anyone, if only we have the vision to see beyond appearances. The narrative of Michael and Grace, with its emotional twists and inspiring triumphs, transcended the label of business story, becoming a universal tale about the human capacity to transcend barriers. They became cultural icons, their images gracing magazine covers, their names cited in motivational speeches, and their life lessons taught in seminars worldwide. Their influence extended beyond the tech sector, inspiring artists, educators, and community leaders to strive for excellence and promote inclusion in their own spheres of action. Rosie's, with its jukebox and whispered stories, remained the epicenter of this silent revolution, a place where the simplicity of daily life met the grandeur of dreams, proving that the greatest legacies are not built in gleaming skyscrapers, but in genuine human connections and the ability to see the extraordinary in the ordinary. The continued collaboration of Grace and Michael on philanthropic projects redefined the very nature of giving. They not only provided funds, but also their expertise, networks, and time, ensuring that each initiative was implemented with maximum efficiency and impact. They became a model for smart philanthropy, using data and technology to identify the most urgent needs and develop innovative and scalable solutions. With each transformed life, each empowered community, Grace and Michael's legacy solidified, proving that true wealth is not in the accumulation of assets, but in the ability to catalyze positive change and build a fairer and more equitable future for all. Rosie's, the diner that witnessed the beginning of it all, continued to shine as a beacon of hope, a constant reminder that the greatest adventure can begin with a simple encounter and the willingness to see the world with new eyes. The story of Grace and Michael became a modern legend, retold in countless formats from documentaries to stage plays, ensuring that their message of triumph and inclusion resonated through generations. They were immortalized in statues and murals in cities around the world, visible symbols that talent can be found anywhere, and that empathy can break down the most insurmountable barriers. Rosie's, the humble diner, gained a historical plaque on its facade, recognizing it as the birthplace of a partnership that changed the course of tech and philanthropy history. The jukebox, with its timeless melodies, became the unofficial soundtrack of their saga, a reminder that life is a symphony of unexpected encounters, overcome challenges, and a future built on the harmony of diversity and collaboration. Langston and Harper Innovations, under Grace's leadership, continued to be a driving force for innovation and social change, inspiring other companies to adopt a more conscious and ethical approach to business. They created a culture of open innovation, where ideas from all corners of the world were welcomed and developed, ensuring that technology continued to be a tool for empowerment and human progress. Michael and Grace's vision of a global economy based on opportunity and equity was becoming a tangible reality, proving that true leadership is not about power, but about the ability to inspire and uplift others, creating a world where the potential of every individual is recognized and nurtured, regardless of their origin. Grace's commitment to education and mentorship deepened. She dedicated a significant part of her time to programs for youth from disadvantaged communities, offering them not only financial resources but also her time and experience, becoming an inspiring figure and a beacon of hope. Michael, in turn, continued to expand his network of brilliance incubators, transforming them into global centers of excellence, where innovative minds from all backgrounds could collaborate and develop solutions for the world's most pressing challenges. Their partnership, which began in a moment of discord and prejudice, blossomed into a collaboration that transcended the boundaries of business and became an example of how humanity can unite for a greater purpose, proving that true genius lies in the ability to see the potential in everyone and to invest in the collective future. Their story was a tale that echoed through generations, a perennial reminder that change can begin with a single encounter, a single conversation, And that willpower, intelligence, and empathy are the most powerful tools to transform the world. Rosie's, the diner that witnessed the beginning of it all, remained a silent monument to human resilience and the power of unexpected opportunities. Every smell of coffee and fried onions, every melody from the jukebox, was a reminder that life is full of twists and turns, and that the greatest success is not measured by financial achievements, but by the positive impact one can generate in the lives of others, creating a legacy of inspiration and change that would endure for all eternity. The Grace and Michael Foundation continued to be a pioneering force in global philanthropy, focusing on projects that address the roots of inequality, from access to basic education in remote areas to funding research for rare diseases. They believed that technology, when combined with compassion, could be the key to unlocking humanity's greatest problems, creating innovative and sustainable solutions that would benefit future generations. Their approach, which combined business rigor with humanitarian sensitivity, redefined what it meant to be a leader in the 21st century, proving that true power lies in the ability to inspire change and build a fairer and more equitable world for all, regardless of their origin or social condition. The story of Grace and Michael became an inexhaustible source of inspiration for artists, filmmakers, and writers, who continued to reinterpret their journey in new forms, ensuring that the message of triumph and inclusion remained relevant for each new generation. Rosie's, with its welcoming atmosphere and whispered stories, remained an iconic setting, a place where the magic of daily life met the grandeur of dreams, proving that the greatest adventures do not always begin on grand stages, but in small and unexpected encounters that have the power to transform lives and change the course of history in ways we never could have imagined. Langston and Harper Innovations, under Grace's continued management, solidified its position as a global leader in humanitarian technology, developing innovative solutions for global crises, such as emergency communication systems for disaster zones and telemedicine platforms for remote regions. The company became a beacon of how innovation can be a driving force for social good, proving that the most advanced technology can and should be used to uplift the human condition and solve the world's most pressing challenges. Grace's vision of technology with purpose redefined the sector, inspiring a new generation of engineers and entrepreneurs to seek not only profit, but positive impact in their creations. Michael, in his more mature years, became a revered mentor for young business leaders, teaching them the importance of listening, learning from mistakes, and valuing diversity of thought. He used his vast experience to guide companies in adopting more sustainable and inclusive business models, sharing the lessons Grace had taught him about the true nature of success. His transformation from an arrogant CEO to a wise counselor was a testament to the power of humility and the human capacity to evolve, proving that the greatest wealth is not in material possessions, but in the legacy of wisdom and inspiration one can leave for future generations. Rosie's, which had become a legendary place, continued to be a refuge for Michael and Grace, a place where they could escape the demands of the corporate world and reconnect with their roots. They maintained the tradition of meeting there on significant dates, celebrating project launch anniversaries and important milestones in their journey, always with the jukebox playing their favorite melodies as a soundtrack. The diner, with its familiar smell of coffee and fried onions, became a constant reminder that, no matter how high one climbs, it is essential to maintain a connection with the people and places that shaped us, and that true greatness lies in the ability to remain authentic and humble, even in the face of tremendous success. The influence of Grace and Michael extended throughout the world, with their lectures being translated and broadcast on various platforms, reaching millions of people seeking inspiration and guidance. They became prominent voices in advocating for education for all, gender equality, and poverty eradication, using their platform to amplify the voices of the marginalized and to promote social justice on a global scale. Their story, of how an unlikely encounter in a common diner triggered a revolution, became an anthem to human resilience, proving that hope can flourish in the most unexpected places, and that true change begins with the willingness to see the world with new eyes and embrace the unlimited potential of every human being. The Grace and Michael Foundation continued to grow, becoming one of the largest and most influential philanthropic organizations on the planet, with projects ranging from building schools in underprivileged communities to funding innovative research in health and environment. They believed that true legacy was not built with money, but with impact, and that the greatest wealth was the ability to transform lives and build a fairer and more equitable future for all. Their partnership became a model of how collaboration between different worlds, corporate and social, could generate extraordinary results, redefining what it meant to be a leader in the 21st century, with an unwavering focus on ethics, compassion, and social responsibility. Langston and Harper Innovations, under Grace's leadership, continued to expand its global reach, but always maintaining its essence as a purpose-driven company. They implemented training and capacity-building programs in developing countries, ensuring that technology was a tool for empowerment and not exclusion, creating opportunities for more people to participate in the digital economy. The company's culture, shaped by Grace's values, became an example of how it is possible to innovate and prosper financially while prioritizing employee well-being and social impact. Their story, which began with a simple contract in a diner, evolved into an epic saga of triumph, innovation, and an unwavering commitment to building a better world, leaving an indelible mark on human history. Rosie's, in its timeless simplicity, remained an anchor point for Michael and Grace, a tangible reminder of their humble origins and the extraordinary path they had traveled. They continued to meet there, no longer as a CEO and a waitress, but as longtime friends, celebrating life and lessons learned, with the smell of coffee and fried onions permeating the air as a familiar comfort. The diner became a sanctuary of memories, a place where history mingled with the present, and where the promise of a better future was renewed with each conversation and each shared laugh, proving that the greatest legacies are built in the simplest and most authentic human connections. The narrative of Michael and Grace, with its emotional impact and inspiring twists, continued to be a source of hope for millions, reminding everyone that talent can flourish anywhere, and that kindness, intelligence, and perseverance are the true driving forces of change. They proved that prejudice can be overcome, that true success is measured by the impact one has on the lives of others, and that the greatest wealth is the ability to build a fairer and more equitable world for all. Their story, which began with a challenge and transformed into a transformative partnership, became an anthem to the human capacity to transcend expectations, to learn from mistakes, and to embrace the unlimited potential that resides in every soul, regardless of their origin or social condition. Michael and Grace, in their old age, looked back with gratitude and pride. They were not just figures of success, but also of profound humanity. The wrinkles on their faces were maps of a life well lived, of challenges overcome, and of a legacy built with purpose. Their friendship, forged in the fire of adversity and mutual respect, became an inspiration in itself, proving that the most unlikely connections can be the most lasting and significant. They were living proof that the true value of a life is not in the amount of wealth accumulated, but in the quality of the relationships built, and the positive impact generated in the world, leaving behind a trail of hope and opportunity for future generations. Rosie's, now an almost sacred place, continued to thrive, with new generations of customers enjoying its coffee and welcoming atmosphere, unaware that a revolution had begun at its tables. But the jukebox still played Michael and Grace's favorite melodies, and the walls, once plain, whispered stories of triumph and inspiration. Their legacy was not just Langston and Harper, Innovations or the foundation. It was the idea that every person has unlimited potential, and that kindness and opportunity can change the world. The smell of coffee and fried onions at Rosie's became the aroma of hope, a perennial reminder that greatness can begin with a simple encounter, and that the most impactful story can be the one that unfolds on the most unexpected stage. Grace and Michael, in their final years, dedicated themselves to writing their memoirs, not only as a record of their journey but as a guide for those who would come after them. The book, The Untold Story of Rosie's, revealed intimate details of their struggles, their doubts, and the moments of revelation that shaped their lives. They shared lessons learned about prejudice, resilience, and the importance of seeing the potential in every individual, transforming the book into a life manual for a new generation of leaders and dreamers. The work became an instant bestseller, with its honesty and vulnerability, resonating deeply with readers worldwide. Langston and Harper Innovations, under the leadership of a new generation of talents that Grace and Michael had mentored, continued to be an innovative and ethical force in the tech industry, maintaining the values of inclusion, social responsibility, and purpose-driven innovation. The company's legacy was proof that a vision based on human values can generate not only profits, but lasting social impact. The Grace and Michael Foundation continued its global operations, funding projects that addressed global challenges and empowering communities, ensuring that the seed of hope planted at Rosie's continued to flourish, transforming lives and inspiring a fairer and more equitable future for all. Rosie's, the starting point of their journey, was eventually transformed into an interactive museum, a learning and inspiration center where visitors of all ages could explore the story of Grace and Michael, learn about their innovations, and reflect on the lessons they had left behind. The table where the contract was translated was preserved as a centerpiece, and a replica of the original jukebox played the melodies that had accompanied their transformative conversations. The smell of coffee and fried onions was carefully recreated, so that visitors could experience the aromas that witnessed the beginning of one of the greatest stories of triumph and partnership of our time. The narrative of Grace and Michael became more than a story. It became a modern myth, a timeless tale that transcended cultures and generations, inspiring billions to believe in the power of resilience, empathy, and the ability of a single encounter to change the course of life. They proved that true success is not measured by wealth or power, but by the ability to touch hearts, challenge prejudices, and build a legacy that resonates with humanity in its purest form. Their story, which began in a humble diner, became an anthem to hope, an eternal reminder that greatness can be found in anyone, if only we have the courage to see beyond appearances and embrace the unlimited potential that resides in every soul. Even after their passing, the legacy of Grace and Michael continued to flourish. Rosie's, the diner that had witnessed the beginning of it all, remained a pilgrimage point for those seeking inspiration and a reminder of the power of unexpected opportunities. The melodies of the jukebox, always present, seemed to whisper their stories, perpetuating the memory of how a waitress's kindness and intelligence changed a billionaire's life, and, by extension, the world. The smell of coffee and fried onions became the aroma of hope, an invitation for every visitor to dream bigger and believe in their own ability to turn the impossible into reality. Langston and Harper Innovations, under the new leadership they had carefully prepared, continued to expand its global reach, always keeping ethics and social responsibility at the core of its operations. The company became a beacon of innovation with purpose, a model for conscious capitalism that prioritized humanity's well-being above all else. The Grace and Michael Foundation became one of the largest and most influential philanthropic organizations in the world, funding projects that addressed humanity's greatest challenges, ensuring that the legacy of its founders lived on through the lives they continued to transform. The story of Grace and Michael was adapted into a critically acclaimed Broadway musical, which brought their journey of triumph to an even wider audience. The play, with its emotional songs and vibrant choreography, captured the essence of their relationship, the twists and turns of their lives, and the message of hope that became synonymous with their names. Tickets sold out in minutes, and the musical became a global phenomenon, proving that the story of the billionaire and the waitress continued to resonate with the heart of humanity, a reminder that greatness can be found anywhere, and that love, compassion, and resilience are the true pillars of a meaningful life. In every corner of the world, Grace and Michael's name became synonymous with positive change. Schools, hospitals, and community centers were named in their honor, and their life lessons were incorporated into educational programs that encouraged empathy, innovation, and critical thinking. They became more than just characters in a story. They became an ideal, a beacon for those seeking to build a fairer and more equitable world. Rosie's, the diner, with its timeless simplicity and vivid memories, continued to be the starting point of this silent revolution, a perennial testament that the seeds of greatness can be planted in the humblest places, and that true change begins with the simple courage to see the potential in every soul. Future generations would study the story of Grace and Michael, not just as a tale of business success, but as a treatise on the human condition, on the ability to overcome prejudices and to find beauty and genius where least expected. Their names would be remembered not for their wealth or power, but for their humanity, for their dedication to a greater purpose, and for their unwavering belief in the unlimited potential of every individual. Rosie's, with its jukebox and its memories, would continue to be a sanctuary of inspiration, a place where the past and future met, and where life's deepest lessons were whispered by the smell of coffee and fried onions, an eternal invitation to dream, to believe, and to transform the world, one human connection at a time. And so, the story of billionaire Michael Langston and waitress Grace Harper, which began in a humble diner with a contract and a challenge, lived on forever, a testament to the transformative power of empathy, resilience, and the belief in the potential of every soul. It was a tale that was not limited to the pages of a book or the screen of a movie theater, but took root in the hearts of millions, inspiring them to see the world with new eyes, to break down barriers and to build a legacy of compassion and opportunity. Rosie's, simple in its existence, became the starting point of a silent revolution, an eternal reminder that greatness is not measured by titles or fortunes, but by the ability to touch lives and leave a lasting impact on the heart of humanity.